What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Early Edge. My name is Sia Nejad, and we are brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. I want to say hello to Richard Pierre, Steve Folkerts, Jason Herod, Matthew Chalk is in the chat as well. Hit the like button if you could, but you might want to close your eyes on this one. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. Listen, there's no talking around this. 0-6. Mikey B goes 0 for 2. The Trey Murphy one looked like it was coming in, and then it wasn't. Buckets misses. Mike McClure misses, and our SportsLine picks miss as well. Listen, last week we had a really good week. This week we are not having a good week, and that's what happens when you do this 52 weeks a year. You're going to have some bad weeks. We got to rebound, and we're going to rebound with the stars of the show. We've got Mike McClure. We've got Eric Cohen. We've got Larry Hartstein. There's not a ton it feels like there's not a ton going on, Mike, with, NBA. We got the All-Star game coming up. We only have 3 games tonight. We got the college basketball slate. We've got the Olympics, of course. But we are leaning into golf today and pretty much the rest of the year, are we not?
Leaning into golf. Yeah, it's the first signature event. This one ought to be good. One thing when you talk about people getting into golf that maybe not are the ones that follow it every week, signature events can be perfect for that. When you talk about reducing the field size, it feels a little less overwhelming in terms of number of options out there. So certainly excited to get into some of that as we've got a lot of that coming over the next few months.
Eric Cohen, what can we look forward to from you today? Are we dipping into the college basketball streets?
Sia, I'm going deep today. Larry will be proud. I put a pick up on the site last night of schools. Don't ask me where they are. Well, one of them, I have no idea where it is, but the line movement has already gone 2 points in our favor. That's why it pays to be a SportsLine user and get it early.
Jay Long says, good morning, EE fam. Larry, how you feeling? So, have you, I don't know if recovered is the right word, but, now that football season is over, where can we expect your picks to come from over the next several months?
Well, been diving into college basketball, had a nice couple of days looking to build on it with a play tonight. And today is a big day. The USA hockey team gets underway against Latvia, laying 3.5 goals. If you want to play the US, you have to lay -150, -160, and 3.5 goals. That's how lopsided this matchup is. But I'm excited, Sia, because a familiar name is coming back to SportsLine very soon. And that's all I'm going to say right now.
What? Yeah, that's the tease. You're not going to tell us who it is?
Can't do it.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, this is very exciting. Well, how about this? Do we have a timeline for when you can say who it is?
A few weeks.
Okay. Well, I thought you were going to say like tomorrow for BPU Friday or something.
Early March.
All right, early March. We've got a surprise in store for you. And for the record, with MLB season coming up, you're going to see so many of your familiar faces on the Early Edge coming up for that as well. Larry, go ahead.
And for the record, none of the people on the screen have any idea.
Yep.
So
that was not an act. I have no idea what Larry's talking about. So I'm actually genuinely excited. Hopefully you all in the chat are as well. Mike, let's kick off with some golf. I have another golf pick. I have some first round leaders. If you're not in the SportsLine Discord, I already put the first round leaders in there, but it's a weird one because we have split courses. Not all the books have first round leaders. So some of you might just end up ignoring my first round leaders. And I only have 3 as it is on the Spyglass course. But Mike, talk to me about Justin Rose. He was a very popular topic on the early wedge. He's one of my outrights, and he's one of your picks for round 1.
Yeah, look, I like Justin Rose at this particular spot. I look for players that are coming in good form, and I think that's certainly where it's at for him. I would argue that he's basically playing the best golf of his career, not necessarily maybe what you'd expect at his age against all the young guns, but I like under 69.5 in round 1 at +110. A lot of the players in his range are currently priced in the -105 to -110 range, and that's where I believe this should be. We know that he's had some success around here before. I think that this is a spot where Justin Rose, you want to lean into the current form that he's in. I think that he fits this course very well. You don't have to be particularly long. He's been dialed in really across the board, but certainly with the irons. So it's really just a play on this number and the current form. The number's kind of priced as Justin Rose, like really over the last couple of years, not necessarily right now. And while I get that he's older and you should start to decay a little bit in terms of rating, that's not what we're seeing here with Justin Rose. I think he's basically, again, playing the best golf of his career. I think that he's mispriced here, and I think he's live to go win this, which I know that's music to your ears. You certainly have him in the outright market, but I don't think some of these additional markets have caught up to necessarily where he is in that outright market even. So give me under 69.5 in round one.
All right. Yeah, I like Justin Rose. And with me and Mike on the show and EC, if y'all have golf questions, I mean, put them in the chat again. We got a signature event this week, which for the record, for those of you that are uninitiated, it's a smaller field, like usually 80 or less, like we have in this case. It's a no-cut field, which has a lot of implications for DFS as well. And frankly, the slate hasn't started yet because the tournament hasn't started, as they're off in the West Coast. So we have plenty of time to answer your pre-tournament questions on this show. EC.
I got one. M squared. Do we have a low, cheaper DFS option you might recommend for us before we lock our lineups?
A cheap, yes. I'll come back to you and get you the actual cheapest price. I know the guy's names in my head, but I want to find I don't want to give you the guy.
I'll give you one that I threw in, and I didn't make an outright or a play on him officially, but Andrew Novak was one that I am interested in. I think he was in the 6,000s, like 6,800 on DK. That was one I'm taking a look at.
So I mostly filtered out a lot of the cheapest pieces for myself personally, but I would say the cheapest guy that I have meaningful exposure to outside of, I would still say Cootie and Gerard are like cheap at 76, 75. But right at that 7K threshold would be Corey Connors.
I will say Jacob Bridgman at 6,900, a fan favorite of this show and myself. And I think Michael Kim at 6,600. I'm going off the top of my head here. There's probably another 6K guy I like, but I think Michael Kim at 6,600 is also a pretty good cheap option. But there's honestly, Sammy Valimaki at 6,400 I think is interesting as well, even though he could absolutely have a bad 4 rounds. But don't forget, everybody gets 4 rounds here. So let's move on to college basketball. We're going to get back to golf. We're going to get back to your golf questions and other questions as well. But EC, you said you were digging deep, going deep, and you certainly are, because UT Martin Lindenwood and South Dakota State Denver. Talk to me, my friend.
All right. First of all, Larry, do you know where Lindenwood University is?
You know, I was just looking it up, EC, because I was like, that's not the same Lindenwood that I grew up near, because they don't have a Division I basketball program. I would have known that. That was literally a few miles from where I grew up. But it turns out they transitioned to Division I a couple years ago. And actually, it's made official this year, first year in Division I. So it is Lindenwood from just outside St. Louis.
And there you have it. I figured you would like that one. So this is a Larry special here. UT Martin and Lindenwood over 143.5. The live line right now, or the line right now, is 145.5. So these two teams played on January 17th, and the final was an ugly 69-55. That's only 124. But here's the thing. Lindenwood is averaging approximately 80 points per game. They've gone over 150 points combined in 7 of their last 9, including that stinker against UT Martin. And UT Martin has scored 75 or more points in 5 of their last 6 road games. Here's the thing. UT Martin is an under team on the season. They are 6-16 to the over. That is awful. However, they are 6-7 on the road. All the overs have come on the road, and I think we're going to see one again tonight. I think this game ends up closer to 150 than 140, so we have a few points to spare. I would even play it at 145.5. I would not go above 147. 147.5 is probably about where I put the cutoff. But right now, 143, 145, something like that. I like it a lot. All right, the other one, South Dakota State and Denver over 158.5. This line is still current. You know why I'm going with this one, Sia? Because Denver is the best over team in the country by far. They are 19-4 to the over, including 7-1 at home. When they played South Dakota State on January 8th, this one got to 166 points. But I want to give you a little stat. In DU home games since December 31st, listen to these totals. 161, 185, 159, 179, and 166. That's all of them over this number. DU averages 84 points a game and gives up 84 points a game. I think this one is in the 160s. I would play it up to about 161.5. Let's have a little fun with these two random ones tonight.
All right. So we got Justin Rose, round 1, under 69.5 at plus money. UT Martin Lindenwood over 143.5. South Dakota State Denver over 158.5 minus 105. it feels like one of those awkward weeks, right? Where we've got, maybe not as much action, but listen, this is where the edge usually is in these smaller schools in college basketball. Let's talk about BetMGM real quick. BetMGM players will receive a Winter Games hockey odds boost. Just make a Winter Games hockey bet, and if you win, you'll receive extra winnings in unrestricted bonus dollars. Larry, are you making a bet on that USA men's hockey game?
Me personally, no, I am not invested. I'm not invested, but I did see that on the site, we have a pick on Latvia, excuse me, plus the 4.5 goals.
Latvia. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Latvia plus 4.5. Let's see. I'm looking at, so somebody asked about first round leaders. So I have three. All three of them are on Spyglass. And again, not every book has this. BetMGM has them. I understand there's some issues like logging into BetMGM for some people right now that I think it's somewhat slow, but BetMGM has them. Some other places have them, but a lot of the main books don't have them. So this is not going to be super relevant for everybody necessarily, but the ones that I ended up taking were Justin Rose at plus 1750 in that plus 1800 range. And then I took 230 to one shots, Keith Mitchell and Taylor Pendrith. I think Taylor Pendrith, speaking of DFS, is super sneaky. Not enough people are talking about him, but I think he's super sneaky, has a great course history here, has missed the cut over his last two, but if you look at the balls, the strokes gain metrics in the courses that actually had shot link, he's actually been pretty good. The ball striking's been pretty good. His putter on POA is usually very good and usually very good in general. Again, I think Pendrith is very sneaky. More about Pendrith and more about some college basketball and your questions right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Larry, it looks like you're laughing at something in the chat. So tell us about that, and then tell us about Northern Iowa.
No, we're just a lot of Missouri reminiscing in the chat from people that are familiar with that area. But I'm going to one of the best mid-major games, if not the best mid-major game of the night. Belmont hosting Northern Iowa. Now, you see this spread only 5.5, and you might think that's a little short for a Belmont team that had won 9 straight. They lost in overtime to Bradley. Now they're coming home where they're basically unbeatable, where they've scored 100 points 3 different times. They're one of the most efficient offensive teams in the nation from both 2 and 3-point range. But I'm looking the other way because this Northern Iowa team, they will lock you down and they will slow you down. They're number 360 in pace. They're holding opponents to 26.5% from beyond the arc. Yes, they lost by 13 at home in this matchup, but they're playing great ball now. They just destroyed Murray State by almost 30 points, another one of the top teams in the conference. And when you look at Northern Iowa, they're a little bit better than their record would indicate. They've only been a dog 6 times this season, and they've covered 5 of those. They only missed 1.5 points. They barely missed at Bradley. They've covered the number by more than 8 points a game when they're a dog. So I think now it's the second time that they're seeing Belmont. They're not going to let Belmont run up and down and put up 100 points or even 80 points. I think they keep them to around 70. I don't think they've been holding every team to 60 or less. I don't think you're going to do that to Belmont, but I think they can make it something like 70 to 67, something in that neighborhood, and Northern Iowa gets the cover.
All right. We've got some questions in the chat that are golf related. The Lock 928 says, how do you feel about McCarty over Alex Noren, round 1 minus 108? I don't really have an opinion on that, EC. I mean, Noren, we really don't know what to expect. McCarty's definitely been playing better, but Noren's probably the more talented golfer. It feels like a stay away from me, EC.
Yeah, these are guys that we haven't really talked a lot about. I looked at Noren earlier in the week, just not, the guy doesn't win. We know that. So you don't have to worry about him winning. But for a round 1 play, I'm staying away.
All right. My round 1 play, this is another one that's a little juicy. I gave out the one yesterday. I don't like to be in this minus 130, minus 140 range. I gave out the one yesterday at minus 138, which will be on the recap screen for those of you that missed yesterday's show. Taylor Pendrith is who I'm going with. Again, I mentioned him as a first-round leader. He's missed a couple of cuts in a row, which I do think is depressing his number a little bit. Not necessarily with this matchup, but maybe with respect to the first-round leader market or the outright market or some of the other markets out there. He's been very good here the last 2 years. And don't forget, the last 2 years, it was a signature event. So he was going up against all the big boys over the last 2 years. And I believe he was inside the top 12 both of those years. And again, the shots gain metrics tell a different story than the missed cuts tell. So obviously he has been bad enough to miss the cuts, but I do think we're seeing glimpses of optimal Taylor Pendrith, which means great ball striking and great putting. I think it might come together here on a course he clearly likes. Taylor Pendrith minus 130 over Rico Hoey. Now, Rico Hoey, also a great ball striker, has been a little bit better than Taylor Pendrith over the last 2 tournaments in terms of, listen, Rico hasn't missed both cuts. But the problem with Rico Hoey is always the problem with Rico Hoey, which is he can't find the putter, particularly on POA. He's not a good putter, which makes sense. POA can be kind of grainy, and it's a little bit trickier. And I don't know that Rico Hoey's going to have success here. So to the extent Rico Hoey's a better ball striker today than Taylor Pendrith, which I think is a potentially dubious claim because they might both be great with the ball striking. The big edge here is Taylor Pendrith has the better experience at Spyglass Pebble Beach. They're going to be on Spyglass today. I believe they're on Spyglass today. He has more experience at Spyglass. But more importantly, he's got the better track record at Spyglass as well. So give me Taylor Pendrith with his putter over Rico Hoey at minus 130. Looking for questions in the chat.
Hey, see, I got one for you. I got a random one. I just was looking at it at BetMGM.
Yeah.
So we're all rooting for the U.S. to win the gold medal in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
We want that to happen, but you got to have an emotional hedge, right? This U.S. team is really good, but Canada has a dream team. It's not worth playing minus 105 on Canada, but the U.S. to win the silver is plus 275. Is that worth an emotional hedge at that price?
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, there's other teams.
I think it's because I hate to say this, I'm going to get killed for this, but we're not beating Canada. With that
but is it a 2-dog race though? I mean, isn't Sweden good? Like, aren't there other teams that could potentially finish second?
Yeah, I just think from what I've looked at it, I think Sweden is plus, Canada's plus 325 in this market. Sweden is plus 350. Then we don't have anything until plus 700 at Finland. So outside of Sweden, I mean, I think the U.S. is clearly the second best team in this tournament. And, I know I'm going to get crushed for it, but I'm just saying emotional hedge is not a bad idea.
Mike, have you looked at any Olympic stuff? I mean, I know you're busy with NBA and golf and so many other things. I'm just curious if you've delved into like at least even looking at lines.
Not a ton. I did admittedly glance at the hockey lines a couple days ago. I'm just curious if you see, like, are we a few days away from having an entire country on the no bet list? Because that's what it seems like is going to happen here.
We're not doing that. But I'll tell you what, Mike, and I told this story on Early Wedge. Watching live Hideki Matsuyama cost me potentially thousands of dollars, as it turned out with the Seahawks, was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in person. Watching him chunk one out of the bunker like I do. I mean, what are you doing? So yeah, he was no bet list worthy. We will not add the USA to the no bet list under any circumstances.
Mike, Aaron Bailey, and you might not have run your simulations for college basketball. Do you have any college basketball leans yet in the early morning here?
I can. Let me come back to me in 20 seconds. I'll pull up.
All right. Oh my gosh.
There we go.
Look who we have here. We must be on the precipice of MLB season. Amags, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm happy that I popped into the show, and look at that. Ben always treat me well. Throw up the confetti. No, I'm happy I could pop in, man. And hey, you guys were looking for an MLB future. I'll give it to you real quick. I'm playing Phillies under 91.5 or 90.5. There's 90.5 wins out there, team wins. But man, you lose Ranger Suarez. You've got Zach Wheeler out for a good portion of the early part of the season. The lineup, when you look at some of these guys, I mean, they're 32, 33 years old with Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. You added a 33-year-old Adolis Garcia into the mix. I don't love the way that they're trending, and I think the Mets will be better than that massive collapse last year. I think the Braves will be better. You've got Alex Bregman, added to the Cubs roster. You've got Kyle Tucker added to the Dodgers roster. The NL looks kind of loaded, so I would not be surprised if we saw the Phillies actually finish third in this NL East and maybe even bite off a little knot to make the playoffs at near 300 or near plus 300.
We have a lot of Philly fans that watch the show, so I love that you just tore into them in early February. EC, go ahead.
Hey, Amags, I hate to put you on the spot, but I was looking at these Rookie of the Year markets. Now, I don't even know who some of these guys are yet. They haven't been in the bigs. Do you have any early leans with some value in the AL or NL Rookie of the Year markets?
Honestly, Rookie of the Year, I don't. I actually,
tough.
it's kind of tough with New York too, because you can't bet on those awards in New York. So I don't dive into them, generally around this time. But one that I did look at least, it's a player prop future. Look at Cam Schlittler on the strikeouts. DraftKings just put out the levels 130, 140, 150. If he can be one of their main starters this year and last through the whole season, I certainly think, at 150 or so innings, if not more, he could very easily get to that, strikeout an inning kind of a guy. So I think, look, the 150, I believe it was right around plus 300. So look into some of those numbers. They just released them, and some of those pitchers that maybe are a little bit underrated could have a pop of a good season. And strikeouts, you guys know I love looking at those. So,
Amags, what about Darren Mercurio here? He's the second person that's brought up the Pirates since you jumped onto the show 2 minutes ago. Over 77.5 wins, minus 120.
Yeah, I don't dislike that. The thing with the Pirates and their number is that that number, it opened, I believe, around 71, 70.5, 71. So it's moved a good bit. You're already betting into a line that's moved a good bit, but I don't hate taking the over. I wouldn't take the under. I think I would just rest on the under if you really hate them. But I think there's much more to like about the Pirates this year than in many previous years. I mean, you're going to get a full season above a Chandler. You've obviously got Skeens in there. You get Jared Jones back. I think there's a lot to like about what they've done with the lineup too, adding some players in there. So some veterans that, previously we've seen them on other teams, and, see if they can produce in Pittsburgh. It almost seems like that spot to go to if you're looking to get maybe paid one more time or traded somewhere that's, there's going to be a winning opportunity for you. So, you hate to see it if they trade some of those guys away late in the season to try to get some of that equity. But, besides that, I think that there's a lot to like about the Pirates this year.
Hey, Mags, one more follow-up question. So obviously, like we always do, we'll have preseason, shows and whatnot. Mike, I'm sure, will be involved in that. Of course, Sniper and you as well, and maybe some others. With that said, what is the schedule? Pitchers and catchers reporting, spring training. Do you know, you don't have to have exact dates, but do you know the cadence of the next 30, 45 days still leading up to MLB season?
So yeah, you have the pitchers and catchers actually just reported. I was just watching, and you see, you get Aaron Judge walking in the building too, right? You get those vets that are gonna come in early. So that time frame is right now. They're just starting. Mike may know off the top of his head better than me. Just the first day of spring training, it is coming up in the next couple of weeks here. You're gonna see all the players, obviously coming to position players, everybody else. But right now you have pitchers and catchers and some of those vets that have come in. So that's kind of where we stand at the current moment.
Mike, clarify, because I see you.
Yeah, we've got a countdown in the office here, just ticking down by the second. But no, it's 8 days until spring training, 41 days until opening night, the actual regular season game.
Hey, Max, I hate to ask this. Sorry, Larry, to cut you off here. I used to have to write an article a few times a year for spring training to make predictions. Do you ever bet on spring training, and what is your advice for betting on spring training?
Yeah, you can bet on spring training, but I think you got to be smart with it. I think my only and best advice would be have fun with it, have it be entertaining, and don't go crazy with your bankroll. Keep things light, because all of a sudden that game that you think you might have pegged, we've seen it so many times. Everybody gets pulled for no reason. Something that you didn't know about was behind closed doors was happening, or how many times have we even seen games where the managers look at each other, they both go, all right, we're good. And they head into the tunnel and the game is just over in a tie or something like that. So I definitely think there's some fun to be had, but unless you can really find a nice edge, I think it's more just entertainment.
Larry, go ahead.
What about you, EC? You wrote the article. Did you think you had a big edge in any piece of spring training?
No. And I will say this, very sad story for me. I once went to a spring training game and stayed all 9 innings and found myself cheering for a bet. That's when I knew I had a problem.
Larry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, you look at this season, and you have the Dodgers at 2-1 to win it all, and then the Yankees at 10-1 are the next choice. I mean, I cannot remember, even OKC this year was not like that in terms of one team so head and shoulders above the rest. What are your thoughts on any team, any value team to win it all other than the Dodgers?
So the Dodgers thing is funny, right? Because in the end, like, do we think that they're the best team in baseball? Yes. I think if you want to fade the Dodgers, it's probably more on their win total right now. I would, maybe sit back a little bit. If you really think they're going to win, like, yeah, and take the 2-1 right now. And I assume that at some point midsummer, it may actually be worse than that, right? But we saw last year too, all of a sudden you had the Padres and the Giants kind of holding pace right there for like nearly half the season with the Dodgers. And that's where we started to find some value in those markets. I believe it was DraftKings. They'll open up those markets that's like to make the NLCS. And if you have something that's just we got, plus 110, plus 120 on them just to make the NLCS, not even to win it. And those angles are really nice because the Dodgers are almost certainly going to win their division. They should have that bye. Obviously, last year was a little wrench thrown in the mix where they didn't, but they should have that bye. And then that kind of just puts them right into the NLCS after, that one series that you're assuming they'll be a large favorite in regardless. So playing those numbers, if you can get like the plus 110 or anything in the plus money where it's just them to make the NLCS, I think is the angle that I kind of want to take with the Dodgers again this year.
EC, last word on this. We got to get to the recap.
Yeah, last word on this one, Amags. Do you like this season? There's obviously we're not sure we're going to see it 2027 with the potential lockout. Do you kind of have an extra juice for this season, knowing that the uncertainty is out there beyond this one?
Yes and no. I guess from a betting perspective, no. I want to, try to I don't want to just full bore, kill your bankroll. We've got to use it, right? Like that seems silly. But at the same time, I could see that maybe being for some of the players, guys that really want to get paid. Or if you're, 31 years old right now, you're going to be going on 34 almost next time you could potentially be playing, right? So I could see some extra motivation there. We also have guys like a Pete Alonso and a Kyle Schwarber who just got paid. So I don't think that it'll be, like that for everyone, but there might be certain cases where I could see that. But I guess from a betting perspective, we probably should just remain vigilant, just sticking to our process, sticking to our 1 unit bets, our half unit bets, and not going too crazy. So it'll be fun though, man. Oh, I can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, can't wait to have you back on the show, Amags. Mike, before we get to the recap screen, anything college basketball related? Did you run anything worth noting?
Yeah, I feel I'm conflicted because I agree with EC on an over.
Whoa.
Like not only agreeing with EC, but it's also an over.
What?
Jeez.
Yeah. So I agree with EC on the Lindenwood over. I have that game all the way up to 150. Wow. So I do agree there. Now an under. Let me pull an under here for you. Longwood and UNC Asheville under 142.5.
See, just got to ask the question, and then boom, you get Longwood unders. All right, Larry, anything before I get to the recap screen that you saw in the chat?
All set.
All right. Amags, thanks for jumping onto the show, man. We're going to listen. A lot more coming from Amags, not just on the early edge, which hopefully you're subscribed to this SportsLine YouTube channel, but also we know how active Amags is in the SportsLine Discord. So buckle up for that. Again, if you're not already in the SportsLine Discord, you're just missing out on so much. It's not just picks. It's a lot of analysis, a lot of commentary, live bets, strikeout props, things of that nature. Like Amags is the king of that, and he's always in the SportsLine Discord during MLB season. So very much looking forward to that. Again, Amags, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. Round one. So these are all my golf bets. Again, the golf tournament hasn't quite started yet. So round one, head-to-head, Taylor Pendrith minus 130 over Rico Hoey. That's my pick for today. Yesterday, I gave out Ryan Gerard minus 134 over Garrick Higo. Top Oceania, top Australasian, Jason Day plus 120. Again, that's top in region, top nationality play. He's going up against Minwoo Lee and Ryan Fox. I will say this. Minwoo Lee's getting a lot of respect in the betting markets. That's something to look out for, whether it's for DFS purposes or you want to look at Minwoo Lee and other markets. I still like my play, but I did want to point out some people paying attention to Minwoo Lee. Justin Rose, round one, under 69.5, plus 110. And then we go to three college basketball bets. Two are from ECU. UT Martin, Lindenwood over 143.5 at minus 112. And South Dakota State, Denver over 158.5, minus 105. And then finally, Larry Hartstein, Northern Iowa plus 5.5 at minus 114. Wow. That was an unexpected. I didn't mean to kick Amags off. I mean, he probably had to go anyway, but I wasn't saying like you have to leave. But the show's over anyway. So great to have Amags on the show. Larry, thank you. EC, thank you. Mike McClure, thank you. And of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Thank you very much. Shout out to Thomas Michaels, Chris Kish, Sox Nation, Scott Edwards in the chat, Michael Johnson, Gipper's Picks. We got to bounce back from yesterday. And hopefully on tomorrow's BPE recap screen, you see just that. Until then, we rest our case.